Hello, my name is Mike Bufano, and today we're going to discuss how to achieve better budgeting and reporting with Solver software. So, we're going to start with some budgeting challenges. A lot of organizations do their budgeting with different tools, and one of those tools might be Excel. Excel is an amazing tool, but when it comes to budgeting, it can be the root cause of a lot of headaches. You have a lot of different data sources for your budget, not just accounting system sources, but sources such as payroll, sales, clinical, operations. You might have multiple sheets with a lot of linking formulas, or you might be linking to other workbooks, and keeping those links active is a challenge. I'm sure we've all had situations where those Excel links have broken and you've had to go back and fix them, or you've added a GL account, or you want to introduce new calculations into your budget model in Excel. It's a challenge. And how about sending that information out to different constituents to get their input? They can only be in the spreadsheet one person at a time. So how do you keep version control of your spreadsheets and really nail down your final budget? So that's just some of the challenges. The Solver budgeting tool solves all of these pain points. It connects to any data source, and when you build your budget models, the budget template models are connected to each other, and you don't have to worry about the linking. Solver has built-in workflow, and so you can assign folks their responsibilities, and that can be in the system at the same time. And you can have an unlimited number of forecasts in your budget, so version control is not a problem. And because Solver is dynamic, you can use the same model year over year when it comes to performing next year's budget. Just wanted to touch base on reporting in Excel a little as well, which, by the way, has some of the many same problems as budgeting with Excel alone does. And since Solver budgeting tools have access to the actuals in your data warehouse, not just the budgets that are produced, many organizations use Solver as a reporting tool to solve their reporting problems. This slide depicts how Solver works. Solver is the four colorful icons that come out the top. We're going to spend most of our time presenting the Solver budgeting piece today, but you will see a little of the other components for the reporting and the dashboards. Your sources of data is presented in the bottom and is fed through the bottom icons and is loaded into the data warehouse. Your accounting data could be NetSuite, Dynamics GP, Dynamics BC, or Intacct. Your payroll could be ADP, Ceridian, or an other on-prem or cloud-based system. Your sales data could be CRM, Salesforce, or a clinical package. The data loaded from your company system into the data warehouse can be real-time connection, or it can be a connection to an on-prem system, or it could be a flat file feed. The number one tool that most companies use right now for both accountants and non-accountants is Excel. So what's really great about Solver is even though Solver budgeting is in the cloud and users do everything in a browser, users that build Solver templates and reports or Solver budgets and reports like people in your organization would do that in Excel. And this, of course, leads to faster deployment to roll out budgeting processes within Solver. Our demo will start with a navigation overview. Then we'll discuss what a budget process is, and it's different for every organization. Then I will perform steps in the budgeting process using different hats. I'll be a budget admin, a department manager, and an accountant. I won't be logging in and out of the system, but I will mention those roles as I go through the demo. The budget admin would update the year-end budget and budget assumptions. As such, the department manager, they will update their respective budgeting pieces too, and then the accountants will do all of their reporting. So let's start with navigation. When I log in with my O65 account, I land on the home page. I can get some training from the academy I can create a support incident, or if I have permission, I can connect to the data. Let's focus on some of the navigation options on the left. I'm on Input Templates. When I navigate here, you'll notice I have access to all of these different budget models. Users, if given access, can participate in budget entry by clicking on these, or they can access the budget models through assignments below. If we want to quickly search for one of the budget models, we can do it here, or we can take these budgets and assign them to these categories, thereby making our navigation easier to find related groups of budgets. In the department budget category, I reduced that whole list that we just saw to just the 6 budgets most often populated by the department managers. And so therefore, categories provides me an easy way to organize and order the budget models in the way that I work. Workflows is where budget admins assign budget users the models and data they have permissions to see. Assignments is how budget users access their assigned budgeting tasks. They can, so whether that be operating revenue, CapEx, or payroll budget responsibilities. The data warehouse is where accounting, payroll, sales, and your clinical operation data is loaded from sources. And settings is where users are set up and security is assigned. The report template houses, of course, all of the reports, and we have the same search and categorization capability. And we'll see the reports as we go through the presentation. Archive we'll see that in the presentation as well. And Publisher isn't a budgeting tool, but provides the ability to distribute reports to end users via email. And in any event, that completes our navigational overview. So now I'm ready to put one of my role hats on. I'm going to assume budget admin. And as part of our budget process that I shared in a couple of slides previously, the budget admin in today's presentation is going to review the integrations in the data warehouse. They're going to update the corporate goals. They're going to create forecasts. They're going to update budget assumptions. And they're going to also assign budget templates to end users. So here we are at the integrations. I have access to all the integrations, and I can check the rules and jobs on the left if I want to. And if I need to add another source, I click the Add New in the upper right-hand corner. And when I do that, it brings me to the marketplace. And what you'll notice is, out of the box, Solver's already integrated with all these different products. So now you can see that from an accounting standpoint, that Sage Intacct, Dynamics GP, Dynamics BC, and all the other very popular accounting systems are here. And if you have an on-prem system such as SQL system like GP, you could use a SQL connector. And if you have a cloud-based system and it has an open data API, then we can click on the generic OData and that brings the data in. Or if you want to feed the information to Solver's data warehouse occasionally, then we could use an Excel file or a flat file. Once I open the integrations on the left here, I'm able to see all of the available items in the source. And all I have to do is take an available field and click and drag it to an available space on the right into the particular module in the data warehouse. And I can further do formulas in here. And I can do translations and things of that nature. And that kind of concludes all I'm going to show you at this point about the integrations. So now let's get on with the other steps that a budget admin would prepare. And so the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the corporate strategies and goals. And this brings me to an input sheet capturing the organization's longer-term forecast for increases in FTEs, revenue, number of customers over many future years. This information can be updated and saved and compared to other reports downstream in the budgeting process. When I'm finished, I can click Save or Complete Assignment. And I'm brought back to the previous window, and now I'm going to produce a top-down budget. Some companies create a forecast composed of the current year actuals and the remaining budget as part of their budgeting process. What you'll notice is in this spreadsheet is a monthly P&L with actuals shown through 9 months for the current year. The forecasts for the remaining months haven't yet been populated. My job is to populate the forecasted columns. My entries in the model is done in the yellow areas. So after I enter a desired net income, the forecasted amounts are auto-calculated. Notice the amounts to the right have been added automatically. I could further modify each line to fine-tune the forecast if needed. And when I'm done fine-tuning it, I'll just click Complete Assignment. Now I'm ready to do my last step in the budget process, which is to update the annual budget assumptions. Budget assumptions can be updated in one place and used by any calculation in other budget templates. So at the top here, I have payroll maximums that'll be used by the payroll benefits model calculations. Capital life is utilized to auto-calculate depreciation in the capital model. And then other assumptions like days of the month and other things might be used in other models such as operations or revenue. I'm almost done with my budget admin preparation. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assign users to workflows. In my example, I'm going to duplicate an existing workflow. I can add templates. So in here, what I'm doing is I'm assigning budget templates to users. So here I can add more templates and they appear here. And here I can add more users and they appear here. And I can control which templates users have access to. And I can also control which departments and which entities and other important elements they have access to. I can add reviewers and approvers and allow them to interact with the data. I can save the draft, or when I'm satisfied, I can publish it for the end users to access in the assignment area of Solver. And so, our budget preparation processes today are completed. I completed my task of making sure the integrations are up to date, the corporate goals are up to date, the forecasts are complete, and the global assumptions are ready. I've also assigned their users to their respective budgets. The budget system is now ready for other users' input. Now I'll become a department head. Each department head, when they log in, they will update their assigned part of the budget, like a personnel budget, a capital budget, an operational budget, or the revenue budget. And for our presentation today, you'll notice I'm going to have access to all of these areas of the budget assignments, but in the real world, you would assign each of these areas to specific people. So we're logged into Solver as department head, and we're accessing the assignments, and I'm going to start with the personnel budget. Notice at the top, I have the ability as a user, if I'm responsible for more than one entity, to make those entries. Yellow cells designate the areas I can enter, and the blue cells are areas that are locked down. And as I make changes in the spreadsheet, it will automatically calculate any updates. This personnel template allows me to plan for some increases in salaries. It also allows me to add additional planned for planned employees. And so what I've done here is I plan for increases in March, and I can do it by a percentage or a dollar amount. And the numbers in blue to the right, starting in March, have increased. The benefits are also auto-calculated based upon the budget assumptions for payroll taxes defined earlier by the budget admin. You'll also notice that my budget is by named user or named employee. Your budget could alternatively be set up to be by position, it can be laid out however you want. Other calculations not shown would include the ability to plan for shift differential, holiday, and weekend differential. This is just a budget template that you can use or modify as a starting point for your organization if you want to take advantage of. Or if you prefer, we can take your Excel models, upload them, and connect them to the data warehouse. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and show you a little bit more about what the budget template is doing. This budget model is aggregating all the information as I update it, and it's assigning it to the correct GL code. So as a department user planning personnel budgets, I don't need to know anything about accounting. It's already been done for me. The salary budget that I'm working on is being compared to the forecast that the budget admin created for us earlier in the process. And of course, it's showing me the variance as a department head interacting with this budget. You know, I may not be able to complete all my budget at once, so I can save the data at any time. And that information is then written back to the data warehouse, and I can recall it at any time. And when I am done, I would hit complete assignment. And if I want, I also have the ability to export my information to Excel if needed. So I'm done with the personnel budget. I'm going to go into the capital budget. Again, I can choose my entity at the top. I can fill in the areas in yellow and add information. It will populate to the right, and I can control what month I think the expenditure is going to happen. And then when I do that, it'll automatically start to calculate depreciation based upon the useful life. And this information will drive a cash flow budget if your organization requires it. And this will also update your operational budget in the depreciation sections. So now that I'm done with the capital budget, I'm going to work on my operational expense budget. So again, I have similar parameters at the top, and I can do it for different entities and different departments if I have those responsibilities assigned to me. You'll notice I can enter comments here. You'll notice that some of the cells are locked, and that's because you can actually provide line item detail for your budget information. So what you'll see here is rent, and I've shown all of the vendors that I'm budgeting my rent expense for. Instead of entering line item details, I could go over to the right here and click the spreading option and enter a dollar amount. Then I would select a spreading rule. Spreading rules are custom defined, and you can base them on prior years or weeks or the month, like a 445, another budget, or you could base them on any rule that you build. Or you can simply come over here and just type in the number or create a formula and copy it across. So you have a lot of flexibility to get your operational budget populated. As I scroll down to my operating budget, notice that the budget from the payroll was also part of my operational budget, and the totals at the bottom are then compared to the current year. To the right, I can enter comments or ask questions, and that people would reply to. Now that I'm done my operational budget, I'm going to go into my sales budget and complete those budget responsibilities. You'll notice there an additional different parameter at the top of the template, salesperson. Since this is assigned to me, I can select my customers, and I can assign quantities for the different services and products that we offer. The template will aggregate my budget as I fill out each month. Let me mention that revenue budgeting is very specific to different organizations. So yours probably looks different. And again, we could load your spreadsheet up to the data warehouse if needed. So now I'm going to show you a different budget model. I will show you a revenue model more suitable to long-term care. Long-term care offers assisted living, independent living, and skilled nursing. And this first column represents the different apartment types. So you might have single, double, occupancy, or deluxes or studio offerings. And here we're budgeting for the number of units in each. This template provides flexibility as the organization adds buildings or changes wing layouts. You can change the mix. The model provides the ability to budget for subsidized housing. The current rent is also shown, and rent increases can be entered in dollar or percent. On the far right, the before and after revenues are calculated based on the user inputs. And part 2 of this budget model also incorporates monthly census into the calculation. At the top, I have the total available days, and in yellow, I give the user the flexibility to affect the occupancy by percentage. Based on the percentage changes, the model then calculates the budget units occupied, the budget units vacant, private pay units occupied versus private pay vacant, and subsidized housing occupancy. And all of that gets factored as you go down the page until you get the revenue totals. So in any event, this is an example of revenue modeling for long-term care, which is, of course, much different than a services or distribution company. So that completes our presentation demo for how a department manager might use Solver to assemble their respective pieces of the budget that they are assigned to. So now let's talk about the role of the accountant in the budgeting process using Solver. An accountant may want to have the ability to monitor how the budget is progressing. They may want to be able to review different reports that aggregate all the information that's captured by the budget models. So they may want to look at a budget P&L, a cash flow, and then maybe going to prepare some types of reports for presentation to management or board of directors. So if the accountant wants to monitor the budget, they can go to the workflow area and they can click on and look at the progress. And they can quickly see what's been started and what's been completed. And now if they want to go into reporting, they can do this via assignment, or they can go up to report templates. We'll start by looking at the report budget review with comments. We're now looking at a report of the budget that we've been building, and since Solver also is attached to your actual data, your actuals, your real data, we can show you current year information. You have these expansion boxes on the left, which provides the visibility into the customers and the amounts we've budgeted for them, or the salary changes, assuming you have permission, or the vendors that we've budgeted for when we did the line item budgeting on the operational budget. The budget combines all of the different budget models together from the data warehouse. And optionally, we can put budget comments that would be available going forward. When we're done with that, we're going to go look at another P&L form. Here we're looking at a budget versus actual for the current year, but we're also looking at the budget we just created. This report provides the ability to expand and see all 12 months for each of the summary buckets shown. And the expansion details for the rows will show more information for the departmental expenses in those areas. This isn't the only report you can see, but this is just an example of a report we could create and make available. So now I'm going to go into the balance sheet. And if we want to build a cash flow budget, we might want to have a balance sheet budget because cash flows are typically dependent on values that are stored in the balance sheet. We've given the user some ability to change certain parts of the balance sheet, and this report will be used to update the cash flow. Let's get the cash flow. The cash flow is based upon all of the budget models that everybody's finalized, as well as the balance sheet changes. This form provides the user some additional flexibility for other miscellaneous planning items. The cash flow presentation is shown monthly, but like everything else, it's flexible, and we've created a weekly presentation for clients as well. So now we're done with those functions. So now it's time to talk about the board presentation. Our senior accounting staff or CEO is ready to create a management presentation or a board presentation. Solver allows us to select one or more reports from the report template area, and we can publish them to what's called the report archive. Users can be assigned reports in the report archive to view individually, or we can assemble some of these specific reports in a report archive and create what's called a playlist. The playlist can be distributed, or it can simply be used to present. I'm going to click Show Playlist. So we start with the table of contents. Notice at the bottom, I have all of the reports in my presentation ready to be used. So the first one here is our goals and strategic KPIs that we demoed earlier when we were budget admins. What I have here is a revenue dashboard, and this provides a graphical view of the revenue trends in the budget compared to the actual data. And the next report in our playbook is the operating expense in cash. The salaries and marketing metrics on the left, the salaries and marketing metrics are on the left, as well as this shows us the trending in budget versus actual for cashes and expenses. This report shows the budget for each respective entity in columnar format, making it easy to compare. This is a more detailed budget report where the users can actually drill in and see the vendors budgeted, the customers we budgeted, and the payroll details, again, all of that assuming permission. Again, these things are optional to show. We don't have to show them, but I just want to show you we had the capability. Let's look at our cash flow that we worked on earlier. Here we have a complete set of all of the detailed transaction level budget reports for convenience sake. And if you notice, all of the tabs we have are for all of the different models capturing the original user input. So that concludes the example of the types of reports that can be added to the playlist to create a management-ready presentation. Let's review and summarize in our Solver presentation to create, assemble, and present a budget. During our presentation, we use Solver to complete a budget process in record time with fewer problems and to overcome all of the issues that many of us experience using Excel alone. Our budget admin was responsible to ensure the pre-budget steps were completed. We reviewed how to add data sources, how to create year-end forecasts, how to update budget assumptions that are shared by other budget models, which of course avoids those nasty Excel links. And we added workflow assignments so that specific individuals would be able to access their areas of the budget that they should work on simultaneously. We changed budget hats, and as department managers, we accessed our respective budget assignments and completed payroll, revenue, operation, and capital budgets. We discussed the flexibility of the different layouts that are ready to be used on your budget models, or that your budget models can be uploaded to Solver. As accountants, we showed how accountants might monitor the process and can build reports that show budget versus actual from all of the data entry models. Lastly, we showed how to use Solver to assemble a board presentation from the Solver report library with as much or little detail as appropriate for the board that you're presenting to. So that concludes our presentation on Solver, but I have just a little bit more in regard to pricing. Solver pricing is very simple and straightforward. It's an annual subscription. It's $100 per month or $1,200 per user per year. Anybody that designs the models or performs data entry would be this type of user. For those users that only need to view data, they would pay just $96 per user per year. Larger organizations might need additional tenants, or really large organizations might need more space. That's how simple the pricing is. Any questions?